Hello, everyone. My next guest on Female Frequency Podcast is Victoria Zaitz. Victoria once shared with me advice that shifted and turned my perspective. She said, feelings are evidence. As we live in a society where so many people think that feelings are a sign of weakness, it's actually the opposite. Feelings are a powerful lens. Let me tell you, shift happens, and the female frequency is here to help you be more creative, help ground you, and help you connect the dots. Victoria did not find it strange that her grandmother could stop watches with her mind or even talk to dead relatives. She sensed otherworldly beings even as a baby in the crib. She is a spiritual psychologist, intuitive development teacher, and multigenerational psychic that helps people find their own intuition and courage in connection with the feminine earth energies. With a master's degree in transpersonal psychology and a master's in women's studies, Victoria talks about nurturing spiritual power in body-based practices and repairing that split of body and spirit that is perpetuated by the patriarchal religion. Victoria shares her own serpentine path to a Kundalini Awakening, which is all about that coiled primordial life force within. We explore the many faces of the divine feminine, from Mother Mary to Kālī, Lakshmi, Brigid, Mary Magdalene, and more. We dive into grandmother spider medicine, animal guides, and shamanic calling. She helps us discover everyday ritual, manifestation, and magic making that reclaims the sacred feminine in ecology. Inside this episode, you'll learn how to invite and embody Earth Goddess energy into your own life. Okay, I am so excited. Let's go meet Victoria. Oh, thank you, sister, for joining Female Frequency. I'm so excited that you're here.
Excited to be here.
Thanks for spending time with us. This is the time, some of my favorite times when I can just get a little flame of fire going and talk about important things for everybody, especially when
Amen.
Let's bring it home. For all of the listeners, can you tell us a little bit more about a moment when you knew that you just had to help others dive into their spirituality?
Right. So I always felt this way because I was very spiritual from a very young age. So my first memories, for example, in the crib are of otherworldly beings, being, all around me, dead people, different types of entities. And I remember that even, from before memory was really technically a thing. And my dad told me that I was an old soul, when he saw me as a baby, just from looking in my eyes, he knows that I've been here many times before. And then psychic ability runs in my family too. So my grandma is very psychic. She's seen all of her dead relatives, and she used to stop watches with her mind.
Really?
So, it wasn't anything too strange for me, but probably the biggest thing from my childhood was when I was 5 years old and I had a vision of the Virgin Mary. So I grew up Roman Catholic, but I was too young at that point to really even know who the Virgin Mary was. So I kind of put it together later. But basically, I had this vision with my eyes open. I was laying in bed, looking up at the ceiling, and she just appeared on my ceiling. She was this, beautiful woman, young. She had this blue veil, in the way that you traditionally see Mother Mary. And she had this just radiant face with this amazing, love and acceptance, just the glowing, off of her. And the first thing she said to me was, don't be afraid, which is something that is often said in the Bible when people see different visions.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm. And then, she told me, that I was here to help other people, that was the point of my incarnation, and that I was going to help a lot of people, that my life was going to be very difficult, but she did not want me to give up. And she told me that the second half of my life was going to be easier than the first half of my life. So basically, I just needed to, hang in there, and eventually everything would be revealed. So I was told that I was here to help people. Okay. So as a young child, I already knew that. But I didn't know it was going to be in a spiritual way. So I was, thinking about what I wanted to do whenever I got older. Spirituality wasn't really a part of it. I just knew I was here to help people. So I got involved with, the nonprofit world eventually. So, I worked at a women's shelter. I, majored in women's studies in my undergraduate work. And so I was really into feminism and feminine spirituality and helping women, kind of more like in a practical way. And then I also got into LGBT rights and labor activism and all kinds of things that impacted women, but from, the nonprofit way of helping, because, I needed a job that would pay me, to help people. But like the whole corporate world completely turned me off. So I know I wasn't going to do that. So that's what I thought at first was going to be how I helped people. And then I just got more and more into spirituality. When I was in high school, I was kind of like an atheist for a while because I went to Catholic school, and they didn't have any good answers for me when I was in school that really met my my satisfaction. So I kind of threw the baby out with the bathwater for a while, but then I got into practicing Buddhism and yoga, and then I got into feminist witchcraft for a while.
Ooh, we're going to talk about that a little later. Yes.
Dianic, feminist, witchcraft. So I always had weird experiences, but like when it really, really started to take off was probably about 16 years ago. I started taking intuitive development classes, and I figured out that I was accurate and I was helpful, from getting feedback from other people. And I realized that was a legitimate thing, another way that I could channel spirit and help people. And then 4 years after that, I had my spiritual awakening, my shamanic initiation, you could call it.
Yeah.
My first dark night of the soul. And then at that point, I started doing all of this work professionally, and it was very clear to me that that's what I was here to do. It was very frustrating at first because, I was kind of mad at God because there were just so many things I could do. And I was like, you got to tell me what to do here.
Yeah.
And, eventually, it all became clear, and I figured it out and turned it into a career.
That is, I think, so ideal to let people know how much your life has been building onto where you are to today, and like these repeated messages. But that's a lot to unpack, Victoria. I mean, so let's go back for a second, because I got to tell you, when I started having my messages from Mother Mary, I was like, hey, I didn't go to church. I don't know what this is. I don't understand, because I was like, I can't just go Catholic. What are all these messages? And they just kept being clairaudiently like hearing the light, like the light, like not the darkness, go into the love part. And a lot of it was self-love. And then I started having clairaudiences with Mary Magdalene. But how do we help people differentiate Mother Mary from the Catholicism to the spirituality?
Well, I grew up Roman Catholic, and I think I chose that, like as a soul because of past lives, to tell you the truth. I really think I was very connected to her in past lives. And, she never told me she was the Mother Mary. And I just kind of like put that, 2 and 2 together. And there's, many beautiful books out there. One of them is Gifts of Grace. If people get that book, that will sort of explain a lot about Mother Mary and how she appears to people. And she appears to people all over the world, of all faiths, not just Christianity, not just right. Catholicism. And, even the Guadalupe, image. She spoke to Juan Diego in the language that he understood. So, his native language, and had elements of the goddess that was applicable to the native people, there. So she appears to people in a way that I think their belief system is going to understand. So we have this big overarching understanding of the divine feminine with many different faces. There's many different goddesses in the world, many different religions revere the feminine in different ways. So she has many different faces. I think that she just comes in the way that's most familiar. Or maybe there's a certain element of that archetype that you need to work with personally. So, for example, many people don't know that Mother Mary is, a demon killer and basically a patron of exorcists, which is also part of some of the work that I do from time to time, clearing out houses and attachments from people and whatnot. So it just makes sense, that particular energy is associated with me because of past lives and the mission of being supported by a certain element of the divine feminine. So other people have different elements of the divine feminine that they connect with. But honestly, I think it's really all the same thing. And just because you see Mother Mary or you see Mary Magdalene or you see Kālī or maybe you see
Lakshmi,
Goddess Brigid, there's so many ways that she can come through. And it doesn't really matter, which way. You don't have to adopt Catholicism or Hinduism or any religion because she appears to you in a certain way. I think she's universal.
Yeah.
And she appears in a way that makes the most sense for the person.
I got to tell you, she showed up as grandmother spider medicine for me probably 30 years ago now, or close to that. And I see on your Instagram that you were having workshops with Grandmother Spider. How did that go this weekend?
Yeah, it was really cool. She's spider medicine is very creative. How the web is woven, and it's a metaphor for creativity and creating your own life. And there's just so many lessons to learn from the spider. The big one, I think, is how the process of manifestation how you can sort of set the stage for something. And then, the spider sits in the center of the web and just waits patiently for what it needs to come to it. So I think that's something that we can do in our lives and make sure that we set the stage and trust, trust the universe to provide our next meal or whatever we're asking it to provide to us. So, in the native traditions, the elders, are very revered. It could have been grandfather spider, but it's not. It's grandmother spider. And, the feminine is also more revered. The earth is also more revered as well. And they're all, interconnected. That's the ecofeminism thing from the Native American culture. They're probably more ecofeminist than most cultures.
Yeah. Yeah. I just remember too, when we were having chats last week and I said, hey, I got to have lunch with a snake. Do you remember what you said?
What did I say?
You were like, that's hot. Just in terms of spirituality and just sitting with the divine feminine and like the transformations of life, you were like, that's hot. And I was like, that's why I need more conversations with Victoria on ecofeminism, because you don't have to be scared of the earth. And so many times we read these statistics of what we're doing to the earth and where we are with it is terrible. But if we can help be part of the solution and everybody get together and see how we can work collectively is definitely something I'm all about. And I'm so happy that you can help talk to everybody here.
Yeah, me too. If you're seeing animals in strange places, those animals are speaking to you. And that's known from Native American culture. It's known from shamanism.
Yeah.
It's very much the shamanic path to have these animals come your way. And it's no coincidence, especially if they're not, usually there. I had a big snake show up outside of a gas station here in an urban area here in Pittsburgh where I am. And during that time, I was dreaming about snakes. Snakes were, crawling all over my body, in particular, like chakra areas that were getting cleared out. So it would like wrap around my throat and my dreams and kind of let me know where this Kundalini, healing energy was working on me. And then I would, during that process, I would see snakes everywhere, including, an extremely long, maybe like 12-foot black snake outside of a gas station as soon as I opened the door to go out.
Come on. That is,
you can't make that up, when those things happen. And for me, it was a symbol of my, my Kundalini Awakening, which I was in the midst of at that time. So it's definitely very transformative energy, very much associated with the root chakra and the body, and the earth as well.
Golly. I get so excited when I hear about people's transformations because they can happen anywhere. When you get that clear sense of knowing you can be anywhere. I think, I've been in the middle of Target and I had one.
Yeah, the universe. I think what that is we're so used to living in this ego-based type of way that society tells you that we need to live. We need to be concerned about money and our reputation and our image and, whether we have a boyfriend or a girlfriend or, all the stuff that we're supposed to be, caring about. And spirituality and your connection to the divine is typically, not one of those things, at least not in, maybe in a more traditional type of way. And a lot of people don't necessarily relate to that so much anymore. So because of that, we have this like real world and spiritual world division, where we think our spirituality is very separate from our everyday world and our everyday consciousness.
Ooh,
and the fact is, it's not. Like the spiritual world and this world are entangled, intertwined. Physics tells us we have like 11 different dimensions. So, different aspects of the spiritual world are very close to us. And sometimes the spiritual world breaks through our everyday consciousness and, gives us a glimpse of what's going on behind the scenes. And when that happens, we're also shocked, when we have these synchronicities and we have these magical moments. And I have them so much, I'm not shocked anymore. That's the process of awakening. But it's just so funny to me how we keep those two things so separate. And that's also, it speaks about the patriarchy, about how spirituality is supposed to not be connected to the earth. It's supposed to be this like male guy in the sky that nobody really relates to, that is so separate from your everyday life. And when we're looking at, divine feminine energy and magic and things like that, we're working with earth energy. We're working with stuff that's, the body of the earth is the body of the divine feminine. And that's why we treat it like, I don't know if I can swear.
Oh, yes, we can. Yes, we can.
That's why we treat it like that. That's, so we need to work to not have this separation between the spiritual world and the real world, and understand these things are very, very connected and close together.
Yes. I think as people start to understand those synchronicities and these, what I call, these miracles in their life with those small but very life-altering connections, it doesn't have to only be one huge Kundalini rising and then you're done. It's listening to that spirituality, listening to yourself with the rhythms of the earth every single day. And reconnecting with the natural laws is how we can help reclaim, if you will, our spirituality and the ecology with where we are with Mother Earth.
Absolutely.
Wow, you have just explained so many of your spiritual awakenings. I definitely hope that those listeners that can hear that can chime in and let us know some more about your spiritual awakenings, because that's how we help each other through this collective connection. And this is just making me so excited. So excited.
I can tell you more about my spiritual awakening in general if you want.
I'd love to.
Okay. So I think spiritual awakening, has been happening to me for many years. And, once I started doing meditation and Kundalini yoga, especially, I started having a lot of different transcendent experiences, and that became more of a regular thing in my life. It all started with what I would call as like the top-down spiritual awakening. So that's from the crown chakra down. Of course, all spiritual awakening incorporates the chakra system and working with those energies. So my first spiritual awakening was top down. I'd have a lot of activity in the crown chakra and in the upper chakras, and it was really blissful, very energetic, body-based type of thing. You can feel it. It was very blissful and magical. I would go into these like love-filled places where there was, no distinction between me and the environment. And I was one with everything. And I felt, so much of this love, very similar to everyone else's experience of this. And I foolishly thought I was becoming enlightened, It actually freaked me out a little bit because, I didn't want to go too far in my meditations because I thought, okay, like I might not be able to come back to the regular, world and make money and do things that you got to do on earth. So I would go really deep into these meditations. And then, I met my twin flame, which is really what led to the Kundalini Awakening, which is different. That's from the root chakra up.
I see.
And then from there, I basically had years and years, and I'm still in it. I'm still in the Kundalini Awakening. It just kind of goes into, it's more active and dormant stages.
See, that's
the earth energy. That's the divine feminine.
Right? Doesn't that sound, it's probably, I'm relating this, but it very much sounds like Goddess Pel from Hawaii, like the volcano.
Yeah.
Action, because they go dormant for a little bit and then come back in full and then spew and then.
That's a great analogy. Yeah, that's exactly what it was like. And so, I would get illnesses that no doctor could figure out.
Oh, wait a minute. And you were born in Hawaii?
I was. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right.
So then I would get these really intense clearings and purgings. So for one example, just to, let everybody know in case they have this weird things happen, they won't think they're going crazy.
Yeah.
So one day I had, my guides were like, we're going to clear you out like massively. And they put me in bed for 3 days. And I didn't know I was going to be in bed for 3 days until, they told me at the end, like, it's going to be 3 days, don't worry about it. When I was freaking out. Basically, I could feel the Kundalini energy moving to different chakra points in my body. It's a very physical thing. And it would just like dwell on a certain area. And then I would have emotions and things that were correlated to that area. I went back to the moment of my soul's creation. So I went the whole way back to the Big Bang, at the moment when my soul was created. And I felt the split, from my soul group, because we were once very much closer, energetically. And I felt the split from my soul group and all the pain, that resulted from that. And just, past lifetime clearing. It was wild. It was intense. And of course I still got up and, ate and went to the bathroom and all that. But I just could not, I just needed to go through this clearing process. And then on the third day, my guides were like, okay, we're done. And here's what you're going to do. You're going to go outside. You're going to put your bare feet on the ground. You're going to put your hands on the ground. And any of this excess energy, we've been running through you is going to go straight to the earth. And you're going to feel 100% better and grounded. So that's what I did. That's what happened. And so that's just an example. Like we go through these clearings and purgings. And I still do to this day. And I think that's good because I don't hold on to all of this energy, like I allow my emotions to be felt and just, run through me. So the Kundalini Awakening, it's no joke. It's very difficult. Joke. And, there's a lot of clearing that goes on.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I'd love to tell the listeners if they're looking for a guide to help with their Kundalini rising or any part that they're going through with their chakras. I mean, I definitely recommend you. You totally helped me through mine. And I remember you just telling me how brave I was. And I was like, I didn't even know I was, I didn't go into that meeting thinking this is what's going to happen. I thought, we're doing some Reiki, we're meditating. It's just time for me to connect inside. And the next thing I know, I mean, the snake was rising and my whole entire life flashed before my life, like in a slide format. Like I didn't have so much clairaudient then, but it was very visual, like you're saying too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And here's the problem. People will think that you're going crazy. If you went to your shrink with that kind of information, and that's one thing that I'd really like to change because I'm also involved with, the psychological world as well. And I have a master's in transpersonal psychology, which is actually how we met because, Yogaterra was, at the same school as me at that time. That's right. So I'd like to really work with psychologists to help them to understand, a spiritual awakening more so we don't pathologize all of these things quite as quickly.
Right.
Many different shamanic cultures, when they look at our system here, they're just like, well, your shamans are, locked up in the nut house. Like, why? Some of them, might be having these genuine experiences, and we just think that they're crazy, and that's really unfortunate,
Yeah, and then so many of them are just giving out a pharmaceutical to be like, "Ooh, I don't know what this is. Go take this," which totally numbs you out, or even worse, so people can't really synthesize what's happening inside their body.
Right.
Man.
Yeah.
Man. Wow. I feel like we've really been able to identify several ways that people can start connecting with the natural law around them, and definitely inside. Do you think inside needs to come from within first so then people can connect collectively? That is a really hard question that someone asked me, and I keep going, well, I guess it depends on the time and the day and everything.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a very much an internal process. And, the big problem is that it's not woven into our culture to spend too much time reflecting or being alone or even working through your feelings or just, anything like that. It really goes against the grain of what we're taught to do, but I absolutely think it's way more healthy. I think, to dive really deeper into your feminine energy, one thing that I would recommend that people do is start studying goddesses. And I have a goddess circle that I do every month for that reason, where we look at, a different goddess from different cultures and what does that goddess teach us? How can we be more like that goddess? How can we really embody that goddess in our own life? So I might make that an online community at some point here, so then you can join, since we're so far away from each other.
I know, I would love to.
Yeah, so it really shows you how the feminine has been revered, in different religious traditions. So, and then you can also make an altar to the feminine representations that you resonate with. I always recommend that, to have little pictures or statues or, things that are right.
Yeah,
like
right.
The Venus.
Venus of Willendorf. She is my mainstay right now. Mainstay.
So it helps you to connect to that energy. And then you can make rituals or prayers or meditations or magic, that includes them. Just start asking them to be, part of your life. Basically start to develop a relationship with them. And then, just like that, they'll show up more in your life. And then also work on developing your intuition. So, and you can work with me on that. That's something that I help people to do. That will help you to be more in touch with your spirituality, yourself, and also the divine feminine energy. Intuition is, for the most part, a divine feminine energy.
Ooh, hallelujah.
And that's why it's been poo-pooed so much.
Yeah.
And then start seeing the earth as a feminine energy and start treating it with respect. Start practicing gratitude for what you already have. Gratitude for everything that the earth gives us every single day.
Every single day.
Even Amen. The man-made things that we think aren't from the earth are from the earth. Look, everything here is from the earth. Even your computer is from the earth. So like we have been just given, so much. Instead of, raping and pillaging the earth and just kind of just taking what we want from it, start looking at it in a more grateful fashion.
Grateful way. And, I looked, we're 3 days out from the full moon. And on the full moon, I tried to practice, like, what am I as a mirror of the full moon? Like, what am I full of? And as a way to remember what is happening for that month and being grateful for, and it helps me be more present is basically what I'm saying. And in a very grateful way. So with this full moon cycle, I'm leaning into the things that I am most grateful for. And, I can say that my life this month has been full of feminine energy. It's been full of adventure. That's for sure. And it's been really full of just love.
Yeah, well, that's great. That's a great point. The moon cycles, because the moon cycles are connected to our own moon cycle.
Yes.
So we are directly connected to that as women and to the energy of the moon. And that's why, women are associated with the lunar energy, because women are supposed to be the reflectors of the sun, right? And men are the solar energy. So we've had that association for a very long time, and following, the moon cycles and, doing different things on the new and full moon can definitely get you in touch with the feminine earth energy. That's probably one of the better ways to do it.
Well, to each their own, because I know we all need more, or, just being open to different ways. Because as we get older, our sensitivities change, our ways about us change with our earthly lessons and our assignments that we have here. I some of the shamanism techniques that you and I have worked on, those have definitely just changed for me just in the last 5 years too. So I can see how all of these things are going to help everybody and just help me for the rest of my day too.
Yeah. Also getting in touch with the body, because I think the body is very much associated with, feminine energy. So respecting and protecting the body and being in the body, because a lot of us are not very embodied just in general. We're taught to just be in our heads and, forget about the body. So that's another piece of it. Looking out, just spending more time outside. You have to deliberately do that, because everything happens in a brick box everywhere. And we have to deliberately get outside. So go hug a tree. And then another way I thought of is feminist art. Feminist art gets you thinking, about the state of the earth, women, the things that we struggle with. It can really help to create a community, around feminine energy.
Yeah.
So that's another thing to think about.
I think with that exercise, I'll do a drawing today and let today's session reverberate in me. And I'll do a little drawing today. Maybe even add a little paint to it. That'd be a great exercise for everybody to do too, I think. I mean, just as someone that is an art advisor and just thinks that when your creativity, everybody is an artist. And so to start listening to your body and not trying to judge what comes out of your creative strokes with your heart and hand activities is, like you said, it's a great way. Thanks for reminding me of that.
Yeah. It's art. I think people have the wrong idea. Art, just the theme of the day. Everything has been, tainted by the patriarchy, and including the art world. So, I think that causes people to think, that art has got to be hoity-toity and bougie. and also perfect.
Yeah.
And it can't just be something that, is expressive and messy, and maybe a little emotional.
and spiritual. Yeah. In the 70s, the patriarchy just put this academic slant all over the art world in the 60s, and through the psychedelics, they poo-pooed all of those creations that were coming through. Like they didn't like the color, they didn't like the action, they didn't like what the artists were doing, like what was happening inside of them, what their messages were, what they were talking about. And, there's people like Alex Gray out there and Allison Gray that are working right now, and they stuck to what they wanted to do. And now they have their own sanctuary up in upstate New York. Judy,
I've been there. It's a very cool place.
Oh my God, you've been there.
Yeah, I visited there once for this really cool, art painting, EDM dance party. It was very fun. It was a cool community.
Oh, I am so happy you got to go, because I would have. Yeah, I would.
Yeah, I met him. He was there. He was just, he just act like a regular Joe Schmo kind of guy.
Regular,
which is, my favorite kind of person. Down to earth. Yeah.
Down to earth. Yeah. And then look at Judy Chicago. I've helped her realize one of her exhibitions at SF MoMA. And she had her own feminist art curriculum in a college level course. And she just the art world kept trying to erase her all through the decades. And now she's really starting to thrive.
Women has been, I took a feminist art course somewhere in college there too, and realizing that how much if you go through any art book, you go to any museum right now, pick up an art book, history of art, go through it, flip through the pages. How many women are you going to see? Okay. How many women of color are you going to see? How many, you are not going to see it. So, we know it's out there, and in the 70s is when it really, came into prominence, when feminism had its, second wave. I think that was second wave there. So it's, to seek out, you're going to have to deliberately seek out feminist art and ecofeminist art. But that will help you to get in touch with the feminine in a very creative way.
Yeah. Hopefully listening to this podcast, I'm going to introduce a lot of people to the feminist art group that's happening through America and throughout the world too. I've got a list going. So I'm happy to keep on trucking on that and introduce people to these artists. And for me, just to learn about their process. Some of them are just so amazing. There's Nancy Holt. She has now passed on, but she is like an earth artist. That's what they were calling her back in the day. But she was able to connect with the North Star and with her sculptures and where the reflection hit on the earth and what it meant for that place and what it meant during that season. I mean, there's so many things that we're not taught in an art curriculum program. We were taught.
Yeah. And it's just right. And just taking it back to the earth like that, witnessing some, either an installation or a piece of performance art or anything that has to do with the earth, you're forced to be outside. Yes. You're forced to, actually engage with that energy. I mean, how many, art installations are outside? No, right. Not enough.
Not enough. No. Oh, I just worked with this artist. You will love her. I'll have to send you the link. Her name is Jody Sperling. And she does these dance performances in crazy places. I mean, she lives and works in New York. So she's constantly having conversations and dances around the climate crisis in her area. But then she's able to get these grants and she's traveling all over the world. The last one she went to was in the snow and ice. I believe it was the Antarctic. Wow. And she got in her costume and then she went out and viscerally made this dance, spontaneously felt what was happening and just created this whole dance performance on the spot. And the way she's waving it around, it's so graphic. And it's very moving. It'll make you, it is something I'll share in the notes too on this one.
I love dance. I was definitely a dancer in a past life. I actually remember it. So I was a ballet dancer in the 20s in Chicago.
Oh my gosh. You could pick up on the place too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God. You are strong.
I remember being on stage and, those old time cameras with the flash and the smoke, that happened. And,
yes.
And I remember all of that and just what it felt like to dance on stage. And that whole life is pretty nice. Pretty nostalgic life. And I have a thing for the 20s now, because of that, the aesthetics and the Art Deco and all of that. But so I'm really into dance. I love dance, all kinds of dance. Again, based in the body, right? So that's, the feminine energy. So
yeah,
it's another way to get in touch with the feminine energy. Yeah.
Yeah. And just ask. I remember there was a day I was in Vienna, and I asked Mother Mary to be with me that day and show me that she was. And, I opened up a book and she showed me a picture that I had been looking at for about a year, probably before then, like this one picture. It was a Goya painting. And I was like, really? Okay.
Well, the best one that impressed me the most for you was when you saw that truck filled with flowers and you were so curious to figure out, like, you just had to follow that truck, and you followed it, and it had this giant Virgin of Guadalupe on the back with all these flowers. That blew my mind.
Yeah, that totally sticks out. For just more of the backstory for everyone, I had in my head just said, I wonder if I should go buy some flowers. I was actually going to an artist open studio event, and I was like, I don't know, should I go buy some flowers? And I was just second guessing myself on whether or not I should do that. And here this truck turns to go up behind me, like in the opposite direction. And I see that it's got some flowers on it. I'm like, well, I need some flowers. There's flowers in front of me. I guess I'm going to follow this truck. And so I flipped a U-ey. I turned around and I followed it just up the hill, and the whole flatbed was full of flowers, and there was Mother Guadalupe. I mean, it was like, hallelujah moment.
Yeah.
It was the ones that give you the chills head to toe, and you just know you're alive then. Because you just have that knowing feeling. And then you get the obvious sign like that. That was a good day.
And that's how you know. And all you got to do is ask. Every time I ask, sometimes it may take a couple days or whatever, but, it'll show up for you. So absolutely ask for that support, and to know that the support is there, because it's one thing, we want to know that the divine feminine is actually with us.
Yes.
So, and you got to ask, they can't just kind of come in and start, messing with your life uninvited. So you got to invite them in.
Invite them in. That's, I can't. I mean, I love today. Thank you so much for
you're welcome.
Lighting my fire today. This just makes me so happy.
Okay, cool. Let's do it again and think about something else to talk about.
Okay. Deal. It is. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Talk to you soon. Thank you so much for vibing with the female frequency today. If this episode or any other episode has helped transform or shift your perspective in any way, please tell me all about it. Tell me all about it in a review where you are listening to this podcast. It will totally help me out and help spread the vibe. If you're a creative looking for more support, this is what I do for a profession. I often host workshops, and you can find out all about those on my website. So take a look at www.pressrein.com. That's PRESSREIGN.com. All right, y'all, until next time.